Sabrina the Teenage Witch is an animated television series produced by Filmation that aired on the CBS network from 1971 to 1972. Created by writer George Gladier and artist Dan DeCarlo, Sabrina the Teenage Witch first appears inside the pages of Archie's Madhouse issue number 22 in October of 1962. On the animation front, Sabrina's first appearance would be on the 1969 TV special, Archie and His New Pals. In the special, Sabrina's a new student at Riverdale High who's having a tough time making new friends when she encounters Moose Mason, who is having his own tough time running against the wheeling and dealing slickster Reggie Mantle for class president.
I thought I was presidential timber, but my friends thought I was a blockhead.
Come on now, don't be slow. Riverdale needs you. Go, go, go!
In a Samantha from Bewitched, nose-twitching inspired manner, Sabrina would tug on her earlobes to activate her magical abilities, granting Moose super speed as well as generally reciting incantations that kind of remind me very much of the future Filmation series The Mighty Isis.
Oh, zephyr winds which blow on high, lift me now so I can fly.
Of course, Big Moose wins the election, and the show ends with a celebratory song by the Archies all about getting on the line for love, where you can see Sabrina performing her Kamehameha of love on the audience as well as their pets. Following her comic book stints in Archie's Madhouse and Archie's TV Laugh-Out, by 1971, Sabrina would receive her very own comic book series, self-titled Sabrina the Teenage Witch. Back to her television series, Sabrina is secretly a teenage witch trying to deal with everyday teenage life who typically uses her abilities to help her friends at Riverdale High, regardless of the consequences of her potential discovery.
I'm afraid someone might find out that I'm a teenage witch. One wrong move, and the cat's out of the bag.
Salem the Cat also first appears alongside Sabrina within Archie's Madhouse issue number 22. Salem is Sabrina's pet and companion who has magic powers of his own, much to the chagrin of all the canine characters in Riverdale, such as Hot Dog Jr. and Chili Dog, who are owned by Spencer, one of Sabrina's friends at Riverdale High, along with Hot Dog, who you may recall is Jughead's pet sheepdog and the Archie gang's mascot.
Dogs and cats living together, mass hysteria.
In the most recent Sabrina comic series, Sabrina would even have a crossover with popular video game icon Sonic the Hedgehog, where it is revealed that Salem is in fact a Sonic fanboy.
Salem, you behave while I'm gone, and stay off my bed.
That's no good.
Following the TV special, Sabrina would then have her own episodes as part of the Archie Comedy Hour, and Sabrina and the Groovy Ghoulies before they were packaged as a self-titled series in 1971.
Say, Sabrina!
The Groovy Ghoulies were Filmation-created characters positioned as Sabrina's cousins, who would appear almost as frequently as the Archie gang would on this series.
I can't help but feel I've seen them before.
Still, it's vital that you see. The important thing to me is the fact that we have continuity.
Does Rhodey look different to you?
Shut up. Continuity!
Boom. Most episodes featuring the Ghoulies centered around Horrible Hall, where the Ghoulies would hang their hats. The four main Ghoulies, Drac, Frankie, Wolfie, and Mummy, were comprised of various Universal-inspired monsters, including Dracula, Frankenstein's monster, the Wolfman, and the Mummy. However, I think their inherent comedic nature actually reminded me more of characters from the popular TV series The Munsters and the Addams Family. I mean, I couldn't help but think of Herman and Grandpa Munster when seeing the antics of Cousin Drac and Cousin Frankie, or Morticia Addams when seeing Cousin Bella Lugosly.
Sorry, pal.
Also, the supporting Ghoulie characters of Ghoulihan and Tiny definitely have shades of Addams Family characters, Thing and Cousin It. While moving away from Universal Monsters, Cousin Wolfie actually sounds sort of like he's doing his best Wolfman Jack impersonation or inspiring the Muppets' Dr. Teeth to me.
Hey, the music stopped!
In fact, the other Kid Ghoulie practical jokers, such as Batso and Ratso, remind me more of Beavis and Butthead than anything else. Ball. Other family members of Sabrina's include Aunt Hilda and Aunt Zelda, as well as her warlock cousin Ambrose. Sabrina lives with the tall and skinny Aunt Hilda, who first appears even before Sabrina herself within the pages of Archie's Madhouse issue 19 in the year 1963. In the comic, originally Hilda is far more gruesome looking at first and has her very own monster section where she gives introduction to other monster tales. Whereas Sabrina might be seen as the Elvira of Archie's Madhouse, with Aunt Hilda's quote-unquote good looks, she was more akin to the Crypt Keeper more than anything else.
Poor Sabrina. She wouldn't have to worry about losing a boyfriend if she had more of the attractive features witches are famous for. Straggly hair, warts on the chin, bloodshot eyes. Let's face it, if she looked like me, she'd have a line of men waiting outside her door a mile long.
This moment of the series is straight out of the comic book, where, just like the comic, in the show, Hilda ends up looking like Sabrina as the punchline of the gag. Although in early Madhouse stories, Sabrina has a witch mother calling herself Greta Fairy, eventually this more tame character design is put into play for Aunt Hilda by Archie's Madhouse issue number 37 in the year 1964. In later incarnations of both the live-action and future animated series, Aunt Hilda's evolution over the years results in her barely resembling a traditional witch at all.
What was that?
Hilda is more the tough love kind of aunt, often in a grumpy mood, wanting to zap the Archie gang for any variety of reasons, having a very strong rivalry with her groovy ghoulie cousin Hagatha, or wanting Sabrina to embrace bringing misfortune on others with her witchcraft.
Ooh, how I hate that old witch.
Did you say witch?
Fortune tellers. Witches, they're all a bunch of phonies.
Archie and Jughead were lovers.
Shut the fuck up.
Something just flew in my mouth.
It's true. Archie was the bitch and Jughead was the butch. That's why Jughead wears that crown-looking hat all the time. He the king of Queen Archie's world.
Also residing with Sabrina is the short and plump Aunt Zelda, who debuts inside Archie's Madhouse issue 65 by the year 1968. Zelda's support of Sabrina is far less strict in nature. If Aunt Hilda plays the bad cop, then Aunt Zelda is clearly the good cop, who gets Sabrina out of jams and defends her desire to help others rather than brewing mischief like a good witch should.
I wish I could help.
You were 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 in the Witch's Handbook. No doing good deeds. And don't forget, Sabrina.
I really do think Aunt Zelda and Beast from the X-Men would get along famously.
Oh, my stars and garters.
Oh, my stars and garters!
Often coming across as a magical version of Rip Taylor or Big Gay Al, Sabrina's cousin Ambrose was a warlock who would often assist Sabrina while she performed good deeds.
It's no use, Sabrina. Witches can't outdo us warlocks.
Cousin Ambrose, you're super.
Not to mention supernatural. Ooh, ta-ta.
Ambrose makes his debut inside the pages of Archie's TV Laugh-Out issue number 1 in the year 1969. Cousin Ambrose is also seen talking to Sabrina in her photo album, much like her father does later in the live-action sitcom that would start airing in 1996.
Well, that's why this old magician looks just like my dad.
Surprise! It is your dad. Happy birthday, Sabrina.
Sometimes doing Ambrose a favor would end up being far more trouble than it's worth, like when Sabrina had to babysit the time-displaced Ugg the Caveman for her warlock cousin.
Hey, neat! A real live hippie!
You might say the original one.
Other supporting cast members include Della the Head Witch and Harvey Kinkle.
Groovy, Harvey, groovy.
Hey, Sabrina, why is it strange things always happen to me around your house?
The Sabrina story Witch Pitch in Archie's Madhouse issue 24 is kind of adapted in the episode Which Way is Which, where Sabrina is assigned by Della the Head Witch to destroy Riverdale's chances of winning the big basketball game. In the comics, it was a hockey game instead of a basketball game that featured a character named Donald as a star player rather than Sabrina's boyfriend Harvey alongside the male Archie crew. But the basic premise remains the same. Della the Head Witch first appears alongside Sabrina in Archie's Madhouse issue number 22. Sabrina's boyfriend, Harvey Kinkle, like her other mortal friends, Ophelia and Spencer, are unaware of Sabrina's magical powers. Harvey first appears in 1969 in the pages of Archie's TV Laugh-Out issue number 1.
Oh, that boy brings out the black magic in me.
Kids of Riverdale High are pretty oblivious to any crazy goings-on in the town. In fact, when it comes to disastrous events, I'm not certain anything would faze these kids.
Maybe it's the end of the world!
Isn't that purely exciting?
Exciting? The end of the world? Exciting?
Yeah, groovy. No more homework.
You know, I'd like to introduce you Riverdale kids to a couple guys I know.
You have no choice but to prepare for a long, dark future as my subjects and my slaves.
Super terrific. Marvelous. Groovy.
Let this be my first decree. Those who do not pledge themselves to me shall be destroyed!
Groovy, baby, groovy!
Yes, it's groovy, gang, but easy, easy. Take it easy.
However, the adults see this crazy shit all the time, and Principal Weatherby is constantly repeating his mantra,
I didn't see that. I did not see that.
like an ostrich hiding his head in the sand. And Miss Grundy goes all Daffy Duck when she sees Sabrina's magic in play.
The Museum of Natural Hysteria!
Here are your aspirins, Miss Grundy.
Also, as an added treat for Archie fans, this series, probably in one of the episodes that aired as part of the Archie Comedy Hour, features the first time Moose Mason's longtime girlfriend Midge Klump appears in animation. Midge Klump appears simultaneously in both Betty and Veronica issue 4 and Jughead issue number 5 by April of 1951. I got a kick out of Sabrina constantly breaking the fourth wall like Zach Morris to introduce most, if not every episode of her show. I've also always been a fan of shared universes since forever, so whether they be superhero ones or something like Kevin Smith's View Askew universe, Archie and Sabrina's world, of course, is no exception. I imagine Sabrina's magic would probably end up being all-powerful if the writers of this show hadn't come up with crazy astrological reasons like the stars being out of alignment or kryptonite MacGuffins such as sunspots or hiccups to prevent her powers from working correctly.
The trouble with emergencies, there's no time for a woman's indecisions.
Also, her powers would generally backfire when she would try them out on her cousins, the Groovy Ghoulies. This isn't a bad series, but I do find it heavily reliant on the Archie gang to hold up any significant form of conflict. Part of me thinks that's a great thing. I mean, they both go to the same high school in the same town, so, of course they should be running into one another. But another part of me was disappointed that Sabrina's own clique of friends, such as Harvey, Spencer, and Ophelia, end up getting the short end of the stick. I mean, they were already competing with Archie and the gang for screen time, and once the Groovy Ghoulies show up, it's like they're never heard from again.
Well, good luck, Sabrina.
Interestingly enough, Sabrina's arch-nemesis on the show was really Reggie Mantle, who was constantly trying to convince everybody at Riverdale High that Sabrina was actually a teenage witch.
Mr. Weatherby, listen, I got proof that Sabrina is a teenage witch and Horrible Hall is full of ghosts.
Uh-oh. Looks like Reggie is beginning to get suspicious of things. Why does he always have to complicate my life?
But then it kind of got weird because by later episodes, she was actually going out on dates with Reggie, who's supposed to be her arch nemesis, instead of her actual boyfriend, Harvey. I mean, what are the odds of that happening?
The mathematical odds are 12,938 to 1.
Never tell me the odds.
Anyway, if you dig Sabrina or Archie comics, I'd definitely give this series a look.
I always knew there was something fishy about that chick. And this time I got the proof.
And now, the Riverdale Carnival presents the Archies.
Take care of the kissing booth while we're singing, Sabrina.
Okay, everybody, here we go with our new hit record, Sugar, Sugar!
Sugar. My candy girl, and you got me wanting you, honey. Oh, sugar, sugar, you are my candy girl, and you got me wanting you. I just can't believe the loveliness of loving you. I just can't believe it's true. I just can't believe the wonder of this feeling too. I just can't believe it's true. Ah, sugar. Oh, honey, honey. You are my candy girl, and you got me wanting you. Oh, honey. Oh, sugar, sugar. Kiss could be. I know how sweet a kiss can be. Like the summer sunshine, pour your sweetness over me. Pour your sweetness over me. Oh, sugar, sugar on me, honey. Pour little sugar on me, baby. Life's so sweet. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Pour little sugar on me. Oh, yeah. Pour little sugar on me.